Well, 2020 hasn't offered us, much of anything good this year. But if there's one thing it's done, it's given us some of the most exciting college football games or one of the most exciting college football seasons I've seen in a long time. The Bluebloods are back to recap an explosive and exciting Week 6 of college football. We actually are bringing 3 segments today. We're up in the ante this episode, and we're going to kick it off with Pick 6 recap, in which we're going to recap the 6 biggest and best games of the weekend. And then we're going to break down some of the SEC madness, which gave 2 teams some struggle wins and offered 2 huge upsets in the SEC. We're then going to wrap up the show with a revamped Heisman Watch segment where we're going to tell you whether current Heisman contenders are contenders or are they actually just pretenders right now. We have a full show today, guys, so let's go ahead and kick this off. Week 6, man, it did deliver some excitement, some huge performances, and some amazing upsets. So we're here with Pick 6 recap. In case you're new, Brandon and I pick on our preview episode 6 of the biggest and best games of the weekend. We break those down, but we're gonna re-break those down after some of these games turned out very different than what we thought, especially down there on Kyle Field where we had one of the biggest upsets of the season. But, B-Dub, let's go ahead, kick this off. We go down to the Cotton Bowl in which the Oklahoma Sooners pulled off a huge overtime win and probably the best game of the year right now, Brandon. They beat the Texas Longhorns. They best Sam Ehlinger somehow when he seemed to be like a creative player in NCAA. You won this game. You picked Oklahoma. How did they pull this off, Brandon?
I honestly don't know. First and foremost, though, I'd like to give myself a shout-out here because I said you could have made this over under 90 and it would have hit. And, well, look where we're at now, 98 points. So I might have only won one of my gambling picks this weekend, but this is the one. I was confident in it, and here we are. I don't know, Zach, because this game was just a roller coaster. I mean, you saw it. It was on at the same time as the LSU game was, but, I didn't mind turning the LSU game off for a little while to watch this game. Like you said, probably the most entertaining game of the season to this point. I mean, it went from Oklahoma's low of benching Spencer Rattler in the first half to somehow coming back, and, I mean, he just performed insanely well in overtime, didn't he?
Yeah, I think I don't know if you could say he had the best performances. I mean, from the fourth quarter onward, man, I think Sam Ehlinger was unconscious playing down the stretch. I mean, I was watching this like, who is this kid? I mean, he was out there looking like, I mean, I'm not saying he's this caliber player, but Brandon, he was out there looking like Tim Tebow. He was just taking the ball and running over defensive ends for no reason.
Yeah, I don't understand why he was doing that. And I mean, apparently he's got some moves because it was like I can't remember how many yards the touchdown was, that rushing touchdown in overtime where he just took it on the first play to the house.
It was they take it from the 25-yard line, so it was a 25-yard run where
that does make sense.
Yeah, he's juking DBs, running over linebackers. I mean, Brandon, I know Oklahoma won this game. But I think the MVP of the game is still Sam Ehlinger. I can't believe that the Longhorn defense let him down. I mean, he had almost 300 yards passing, 2 passing touchdowns. He did have 2 costly interceptions, but the one in overtime, I want to come back to that one because I got some questions. I think the refs saw what happened to Oklahoma last week. That could have been a pass interference. It looked like that kid was held going to the back of the end zone. But, Brandon, this is the craziest stat. He rushed for 112 yards and 4 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, so Texas found out the rushing game apparently.
Yeah, and it's him. And I'll get to the rushing game in a minute because I got a bone to pick with Keontae Ingram and Bijan Robinson. But, Brandon, they were down 31-17 with 3 minutes left. And Ehlinger just, like I said, blacked out and just led this Longhorns team down the field. But, Brandon, throwing the ball 20-plus yards down the field, Ehlinger was 0 for 11 in this game. And that's something that going into this game I would have never thought I would have seen because Ehlinger, that's usually his strength is passing the ball down the field.
Right.
And 10-plus yards down the field, Brandon, he was 50%, 60 yards in a pick. Not a good look. And that pick was the one in overtime. But, Brady, you said Spencer Rattler, he struggled early, got benched for Tanner Mordecai, but in overtime, he made the plays. I mean, the costly interception, he had 50 yards rushing, 200 yards passing, 4 total touchdowns. It wasn't amazing, but I think Rattler showed that he can make the plays in clutch situations to win big games, because for Oklahoma, there's no bigger game than the Red River Showdown.
No, and I mean, for a struggling Oklahoma team who started out the season 1-2, they hadn't won a game in the Big 12, right? To come into this game to beat their biggest rival in Texas, one of the, I guess, one of the 3 ranked teams in the Big 12 right now. To beat them in Dallas, I mean, that's saying something. I mean, that's a statement win, whether you like it or not. I understand Texas might not be great, and now neither one of these teams in the top 25, which is bananas. But, I mean, they won this game, and honestly, this could be kind of a spark for Oklahoma, and we might see them perform a little bit better after today.
I think so. And, Brandon, the key here, I think Texas laid out the game plan against Oklahoma. If you can pressure Spencer Rattler, you're going to win the game.
Yeah, he's got to get comfortable back there. He doesn't look very comfortable at all.
No, he had 20. His completion percentage dropped to 20% under pressure, and he only threw for 11 yards.
Right.
And he got pressured. But the Longhorns have no defensive line. They only generated 1 quarterback hurry and 1 sack.
Which is, I mean, insane. You got to do something.
That's horrible. And I am interested to see, did Rattler do enough to keep his job moving forward? But I want to say this, even if he doesn't or he does, whatever you want to say, I think the pressure is on for Spencer Rattler, because now he knows that if he doesn't live up to what he should be doing, live up to his hype, he knows Lincoln Riley will pull him immediately.
Yeah, he will. And
that's gotta have him looking over his shoulder a little bit. So you wonder, is he going to be able to, is that pressure going to make him play worse? Is he going to step up and play better to keep his job? I mean, it opens up a whole lot of questions for me.
Yeah, and honestly, the one thing I couldn't stop thinking during this entire game, especially after they pulled him in the first half, was, man, Caleb Williams is coming to this Oklahoma team next season. I mean, Tanner Mordecai might not be like a long-term solution, but Caleb Williams looks like the real deal. And I don't know. I feel like Spencer Rattler's going to be playing for his job coming up soon.
Yeah, and Oklahoma, they don't waste time. If you're a quarterback and you can't perform, then go ahead and transfer. Lincoln Riley is not going to cost himself his job. And, I want to get to Keontae Ingram and, Bijan Robinson, Brandon. They should spend the week apologizing to Sam Ehlinger for their pitiful performances.
Wrong. Keontae Ingram, I thought, had a decent game. They didn't hand him the ball. He got the ball 3 times, Zach. I mean,
Watkins on his second carry, he fumbled without barely being touched.
Okay, but other than that, I mean,
it was like his 4th fumble in the last 6 carries.
Dude, both of these running backs, their longest run was more than half their yards, and they had 8 combined touches. I mean, Keontae Ingram averaged 5 yards a carry because he only had 3 touches.
Well, they just feel like they can't trust him. Look what he did down the stretch. He cost them the game last week against TCU.
Right.
And he didn't have a good game against Texas Tech. And, for being a 5-star, can we say Robinson has lived up to that?
Nah, I mean, I don't know. Well, yeah, I'll stick to my guns. I'll stick to what I've been saying, in that we didn't see that. We didn't see the opportunity. There was no opportunity. When you pass the ball 53 times, you can't blame a game on the running. You can't blame the game on the running back.
I feel like they just haven't done enough to show that they can be trusted. So if I'm Texas and I'm getting down and Oklahoma's up 10-0, I'm putting the ball in Sam Ehlinger's hand over Keontae Ingram.
It depends. It depends on the Sam Ehlinger we get. Are we getting first half Sam Ehlinger? Because I'm handing the ball off every single time if that's what we're getting.
I don't know. Second half Sam Ehlinger, though, deserves the ball every single time. That dude looked like, I don't even know, that was a grown man out there dominating this Oklahoma defense. I've never seen Sam Ehlinger play better down the stretch than he did this weekend. And it sucks that he lost the game because I thought he deserved it. I thought he played well enough down this. In overtime, when they got the ball, I had no doubt that they were going to score, Brandon. I was like, just run QB power each side. Just repeat it. Alternate left and right, and you're going to score eventually because they can't stop them. They had no answer for Sam Ehlinger. And Brandon, you called me out in the preview episode. What did I call for them running in the red zone?
I don't remember.
I called for Sam Ehlinger taking the ball. I was like, why aren't they running quarterback power? And you said, well, they can't get him hurt.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
When he's doing this, you got to risk that. I'm sorry. The reward is there. You got to give this guy the ball. And, Brandon, you're looking at two coaches now in Tom Herman and Lincoln Riley whose seats are warming a little bit. I think Tom Herman's is on fire compared to Lincoln Riley's right now.
It should be.
And
he's only beaten Oklahoma one time in his 5 seasons.
Yeah, and they fired Charlie Strong immediately after not beating them in his first 3 tries.
Right.
And
he had one in his 3 tries. He was 1-2. Tom
yeah. It's the Jim Harbaugh effect. But, if he's probably going to be looking for a new job, he can't turn this around. And, it was funny. I got a text during this game that was like, do you think Lincoln Riley wishes he took the Cowboys job when he had the chance now?
Probably.
And I don't know. That Cowboys defense is pretty bad. I thought when we were recording this episode, the Giants were driving on them about to score to take the lead. So I don't know if that would have been the best job.
It looks like Lincoln Riley performs pretty well in Dallas, so maybe he would have done something.
True. That's true. But listen, guys, Texas gets a bye week before hosting the Baylor Bears in a big Big 12 matchup, while the Sooners also have a bye week before heading back to Texas to take on TCU in another huge Big 12 matchup. The Big 12's up in the air. If Oklahoma State can't go undefeated, Brandon, the playoff hopes are dead in the Big 12 because I believe the only other ranked team is Iowa State right now, and I think they're outside the top 20. So the Big 12, their playoff hopes are looking bleak. But, Brandon, let's stay in Texas here. There is a Texas team who got a win. It's the number 21 Texas A&M Aggies upsetting the number 4 Florida Gators 41-38 on a last-second field goal. Brandon, Jimbo Fisher finally gets it done. Your thoughts here? Because I don't think anyone thought this was coming.
No, well, didn't you pick Texas A&M? No, you didn't.
Nope.
No, someone did. We know. We probably know someone who did.
Yep. Yeah.
But
we do.
I don't know, man. It shocked me. I thought, I'm pretty sure we can rewind the tapes back to the preview episode, and you could hear me saying this game's going to be a blowout, and Florida was going to be on the winning side of this one. So I guess the only thing I have to say is that Todd Grantham maybe should be fired, and the entire defense maybe should also be fired. I'm not sure what was going on the defensive side of the ball for Florida.
Todd Grantham should be put on the same plane as Bo Pelini and just flown to another country and never be allowed to coach ever again.
Yeah, I mean, I hope nothing bad happens on that plane. I hope they're just taken somewhere to where they can't coach football in the SEC anymore. That should be illegal.
Oh man, I can't believe this, Brandon. I mean, I think this was okay. I get it. The LSU upset week 1 was big. I know we've had some big upsets, but Brandon, I think this, for me at least, because of how high I was on Florida and how much I didn't believe in Texas A&M, I think this was the biggest upset of the year right now.
Yeah.
I really can't. I mean, LSU had a lot of losses coming in. We had Mike Leach's offense, but I did not think this could happen. And especially with Kellen Mond as the quarterback and this A&M defense looking weak like they were last week. And Florida may have one of the best offenses in the country, but this defense is god-awful. And I can't believe the Aggies, this is how they break through. But let's talk about the quarterbacks here, Brandon. I mean, Kellen Mond and Kyle Trask both played outstanding. And, Brandon, this is the Kellen Mond that we talked about last year on this podcast where we were saying he's one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC. He finally played up to his potential, and we see what this Aggies team could do when he lives up to his hype.
And, man, it's impressive. I mean, this kid went 25 for 35 passing, 340 yards, 3 touchdowns. And I mean, he was playing lights out all game long. It's not like he had a good half or a good quarter. He had the entire game where he was just going off.
Yeah, he had, 338 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers. And, Brandon, his play when the Florida Gators blitzed him is what won this game because Florida has had a lot of problems not generating any pressure with their defensive line. And when they blitzed Kellen Mond, his completion percentage was 76.5%. He threw for 157 yards and a touchdown and graded out over an 84 by Pro Football Focus. So he was elite in that department. And then, Brandon, we talked about, him throwing between the numbers last week at Alabama. This week he was 19 for 22, 275 yards and 3 touchdowns between the numbers.
Right. Oh man. And look, we can't even give all the credits to just the quarterbacks here. Can we talk about Isaiah Spiller for a second? Because
rebounded better than I think anybody could have ever hoped after his abysmal performance against Alabama last week.
I mean, we tried to ruin this kid's whole career last week on the show, and then he comes back. He's like, "Oh, really? Is that how you want to talk about me?" And then he went off for 174 rushing yards. I mean,
and 2 touchdowns. I mean, he was getting in zone.
It's not like he just had like one 90-yard run, then everything else, fell into place. No, his longest run was 23 yards. So, I mean, he's just pushing it down their throat every single time.
Yeah, A&M, if they play like this, if Kellen Mond shows up, if Isaiah Spiller can run the ball, if this defense can make timely stops like they did, A&M is easily, I think right now, is probably the second best team in the West and has an argument to be a top 3 team in the SEC.
Yeah.
If they play like this, I mean, this team is good. I think this team is better than Auburn. I think this team is better than LSU.
Well,
I think this team.
I hope they're better than those 2 teams.
Yeah, and I think they could have an argument to be better than Tennessee. I think they're right there behind Alabama and Georgia. I think Georgia and Alabama right now look like the 2 best teams of the SEC by a wide margin. And we'll get to Georgia and Alabama later, but A&M's right there, man. And if they can find a way to continue this, I guess, this momentum forward, A&M's going to be a tough team to beat. And, listen, Kyle Trask, he did some great things, but, he had 72% completion percentage, 312 yards passing, 4 touchdowns. But, Brandon, inefficient under pressure, and he could not push the ball down the field. And I thought he could make a few more plays, but that running game, Brandon, so everyone's going to blame the defense for this performance. What about the running backs? Naquan Wright, Damian Pierce, Malik Davis contributed absolutely nothing to the Gators. Only Wright had over 30 yards rushing. The longest rush of the game was 11 yards by Wright.
Right.
And, Brandon, I don't know how you feel about this. I want to get your opinion on this. Watching the game, I know that the Florida Gators have a lot of talented wide receivers they have some depth there. Why would you not explore moving Kadarius Toney to running back?
I don't know. That's a good question. I think honestly, one of the things that lost this game for Florida was the time of possession battle. They had 10 fewer minutes than Texas A&M did. I feel like they were kind of they were trying to use their time on offense as wisely as they could because they knew their defense couldn't get it done. And moving him to running back seems like it's kind of a risky move, right? I mean, I get that you might have to do it, but it seems a little risky.
Yeah, no, it's a little risky, but you have no other answer, it looks like. Yes, you have guys with a lot of potential talent. You did have the transfer from Miami, Lingard. I don't know if he's even eligible. I don't know if he's hurt. That there's nothing I don't even think they're playing him at all. So I don't know what's up with that. But my thing is, Brandon, you have to do something. Yes, they have DeMarcus Bowman coming in. I don't know if we've said this on the podcast, but they got the transfer for Clemson, the 5-star. That's huge. That's going to be a huge, huge game for them. But right now, they don't have anything else. So Toney had 7 catches, 92 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I think he's going to bring a change of pace. And yes, he might not do well running up the middle all the time. But if you get him out of space, I think Toney is the most explosive offensive option you have right now. And against teams like Georgia, you're going to have to run the ball. We saw what Tennessee did this weekend when they couldn't run the ball. They get beat. You saw what Auburn had to do when you can't run the ball. And if Georgia makes you one-dimensional, you're going to lose that game. And Florida is going to have to figure it out before they face Georgia. And they're going to have to figure it out against teams like LSU because LSU is going to put up points. LSU has talent on defense. You're going to have to figure it out against Tennessee. I think Kadarius Toney at running back is the move here. I know it's unconventional. I know some people aren't going to agree, but you have to find a way to help out Kyle Trask because he cannot do it all by himself.
You heard it here first. Coach McKinnell calling for Kadarius Toney to play running back in Gainesville this upcoming week against LSU. I mean, I think we'd all love to see it.
I think LSU could pull the upset realistically, Brandon. I know that sounds crazy.
That's a stretch.
Because I don't know if Florida's going to be able to stop them.
Yeah, I mean, good offense, definitely good offense in for the Tigers, but oh man,
that defense is going to be tough. That defensive performance, the defense, the over under for the LSU Florida game should be set at no less than 150. I mean, this game is going to be brutal if you're a defensive football fan.
No, it will be. It's gonna be a little tough, honestly. And
I've had nothing but good things to say about this guy. Kyle Pitts has to do more too.
He does.
After the first quarter, he had 5 catches for 47 yards and a touchdown. But after the first quarter, the defense was just bracketing him, and he was non-existent. It offered a perfect game plan, and A&M doesn't have a great secondary. What's going to happen when Derek Stingley and Eli Ricks are bracketing off Kyle Pitts? The ball's not getting in there.
Right.
It's going to be a problem. He's going to have to play better. If you're telling me he's the best tight end in the country and a Heisman contender, he's going to have to play better against teams like Texas A&M because their secondary is not on his level. And I know that sounds tough, but if you're going to say you're the best player at a position in the country, I'm going to hold you to a higher standard.
I mean, 100% agree.
Caleb Chapman for Texas A&M had 9 catches, 150 and 2 touchdowns, and you're telling me Kyle Pitts got held for under 50 yards?
Yeah, you can't do that. We can't do the Kyle to Kyle transfer and act like they're the best quarterback tight end duo in the history of college football, and then get burned by a guy named Caleb Chapman.
It's bad, but guys, Florida hosts LSU next weekend. There might be a full crowd. Brandon, how do you feel about that?
Bad, so bad. Oh my gosh.
Oh man,
that's for the preview episode, but man, bad.
Yeah, hey, a full stadium won't help that defense, so don't worry about that. But Texas A&M is going to travel to Starkville to take on the reeling Mississippi State Bulldogs. They are garbage. More on that maybe a little bit later. But
yeah, thanks. No, Brandon, pretty good.
Yeah, they're decent. But listen, we're headed to Chapel Hill, guys. We had the number 8 North Carolina Tar Heels in an explosive matchup take the 56-45 win over Virginia Tech. Brandon, if you like points in offense, well, I hope you watch this game because offenses were abundant and the defenses were non-existent in Chapel Hill this weekend.
No, yeah. I mean, I feel like this is like the no defense podcast at this point. This is awful.
Hey, it's okay. That's because there's a team that the last game of our segment that has enough defense for the entire country because it's unfair how good their defense is.
So the over-under for this game was set at 59. Then North Carolina decided, you know what, let's score 56.
And they almost scored at the end of the game. Did you see that? They had a fight. They almost scored, and Sam Howell went to take a knee and just started running backwards and to like try to get the clock running, and they tried not to score, and so Virginia Tech started a fight, and Mac Brown almost tried to score again just because of that.
Well, I can't say that I'm not a fan of that. I like that a lot.
Or how about the game later where Clemson is trying to score with third strings running hurry up with 30 seconds left, but We'll get to that too. But listen, Brandon, I'm here to say this. If Virginia Tech starts Hendon Hooker, which I am mind blown, whoever the offensive coordinator or whoever made the decision not to start Hooker should be fired. Why in the world did you not start Hendon Hooker in this game? Because they're down 21-0, and then you put Hooker in, and the game's competitive finally. And it just blows my mind. And then UNC's offense finally woke up. They exploded for a record-setting performance. But, Brandon, I need your thoughts on this. I don't think there's a team in the country that has a 1-2 running back punch in the country that can compete with North Carolina right now.
Between Michael Carter and Javonte Williams?
These guys are legit.
Yeah.
I mean, Brandon, 214 yards rushing, 12.6 yards per carry, and 2 rushing touchdowns for Carter.
I mean, he looked great, and so did Javonte Williams. I mean, it was nuts.
They ran for, I think it was 399 yards.
Yeah. No, I mean, no. I mean, we need to get better at math on the show for sure, but
no, I meant like North Carolina ended up.
Oh, yes,
that's the total they rushed for. I mean,
right?
They put up hella numbers, man. It's stupid, but Michael Carter's a unit, man. Listen, I don't know how he's built like that and can do this. Brandon, all his yards to the A and B gap against Virginia Tech, the A and B gap, Brandon, he has 6 carries, 127 yards, and 2 touchdowns right up the middle.
He said, you know what, I'm not even going to try to run around you. I'm going through you.
You want to know why? Because Javonte Williams does that. Brandon, off tackle and off the edge, Williams had 7 carries, 114, and a touchdown.
You know, I can't help but feel like against a better defense, maybe a defense that's even slightly better than Virginia Tech, they won't be able to do that because they're going to know which running back is running where.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's okay. Javonte Williams' other touchdown came through the A gap, so you're good. They have the versatility. I just don't understand how both of these running backs are so overlooked.
Right.
They are 2 of the best running backs in the country. I mean, they're putting up outstanding numbers. And Brandon, I think the reason they had such an explosive day is because Daz Newsome finally decided to suit up for the Tar Heels. That's true. And Sam Howell decided not to throw an interception this week, shockingly. I don't know how that happened.
He's no longer the Jameis Winston ratio, which is good for him.
Yeah, good for him. But listen, Newsome exploded back on the scene, 7 catches, 69 yards, and a touchdown. Brandon, he more than doubled his production for the season in this game.
I mean, very good. He also had a 6-yard rush. Kind of cool.
Yeah, there you go. And listen, Howell played his best game of the season, in my opinion, which I guess isn't saying much. I don't think he's played very well this season, but 78% completion percentage, Brandon, 257, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers. I mean,
no turnovers for either team, which is crazy.
I don't know. I've never seen a game that was 56-45 where no one had a turnover. That shouldn't be allowed.
Right.
I have some questions.
Where are we? What's going on? This is just fundamental football, is what it is.
Right, Brandon. 20+ yards down the field for Sam Howell, 93 PFF grade, and he was 2 for 2, 80 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Right.
That's a problem. Virginia Tech, where are your safeties? Are you kidding me? Where are they at? But, I think Brandon Howell finally showed what he can do when he's not running for his life on every play. Virginia Tech only pressured Howell on 3 plays this game, Brandon. So that shows that if you can't pressure this offense, they're going to eat you alive.
I mean, we said it before. There was no defense to be seen. We haven't talked about a game with defense whatsoever today.
No, well, hey, but we saved them for last. The last 2 games we got to cover here, they got plenty of defense. But Brandon, Virginia Tech, just like Texas, could not pressure Howell with just their D-line. When they blitzed Howell, he threw for 113 and a touchdown and had a 77% completion percentage.
Right.
So that shows if you're taking a defender away to get to Sam Howell, you're going to have to pay. And Brandon, that just shows this offensive line is the key to this team. If the offensive line can play well, this team is really good. But the problem is I don't know if they're going to be able to beat some of the elite teams in the ACC because that offensive line is going to have to face some stout competition at the top of this conference.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, Brandon, I think, on the other side, I think we have to talk about Khalil Herbert. I think he is by far and away the best candidate for most improved player of the year.
Yeah, he had like a 50-yard touchdown.
Yeah, he did, and he had 18 carries, 138, and 2 touchdowns, and he was the cog for this offense while Hooker and the rest of these guys were out with COVID. Brandon, this was the first game where Virginia Tech was missing less than 10 players due to COVID.
Very good. Proud.
Yeah, and all of them came on defense, which was probably evident of the 56 points that they gave up. But Hendon Hooker came in. I thought he played very well, Brandon, for his first start of the year. I mean, 136 passing, 2 passing touchdowns, a rushing touchdown. He looked rusty early, but, man, once it clicked in the third quarter, the Hokies never looked back. They outscored UNC 23-7 in that quarter. And I expect Hooker to help the Hokies win some games down the stretch this year, Brandon. I don't think Virginia Tech should have to hold their head down about anything. I think this team's good. I think this team's had some bad breaks with injuries, COVID, and et cetera. But I think for the foreseeable future, this Virginia Tech team's going to be a force in the ACC.
Yeah, I mean, they might be. I've already called them frauds, so I can't back down from that now, Zach. But, yeah.
But guys, Virginia Tech hosts a talented Boston College team next weekend, which is playing really well lately. While UNC travels down to Tallahassee to face a Florida State team with more problems than they probably have talented players. So that one should be a good one. But we're going to move back to the SEC right now. We're going down to Athens, Georgia again, where the Georgia Bulldogs pulled out a 44-21 win over the Tennessee Volunteers. And I want to say this first, Brandon, before I get to you. Don't let the final score confuse you guys, because Tennessee was winning in the first half and was holding it down early, but 27-0 Bulldogs run in the second half really put this game away. So, Brandon, what did you see, and what do you think about these two teams' performances?
I thought this Georgia defense really, really stepped up in the second half, obviously. And I've heard people call them the best defense in the country. So
I have them as second. I think there's a team we're going to cover next that's first. I think this team's easily second.
Yeah, for sure. It's not the best, but for sure up there, I would say. Man, it's so unfair. We'll talk about it with the next game, I guess, but it's so unfair.
It is. I mean, but Brandon, Stinson Bennett, I don't think you can say enough about this kid. Like, I know he's not flashy, but
he's boring, actually.
Yeah, he's boring, but man, this dude's a robot. I swear. He's programmed to not turn the ball over and keep the offense moving. I mean, Brandon, 0 turnovers in 2 straight weeks against top 15 teams.
Yeah, he's the Zuckerberg of college football.
Hey, guess what? He's winning. And another 60% completion percentage game, 240 yards, 2 touchdowns, and this is the recipe, Brandon. Get the ball in the playmaker's hands, don't turn the ball over, and keep the offense on schedule. If he does those 3 things, Georgia might win every game if he can do that. Yeah. That's how good this Georgia team is. And listen, Bennett's the quarterback they've needed all along. Jacob Eason, Jake Fromm, they weren't it. Stinson Bennett is the quarterback they need right now, and it's a shame that it took this long to figure it out, Brandon, because this kid is playing really good football. And, yeah, you might say he's boring. We're going to find out how good he is next week.
Yeah, yes, we are.
And how about the bad luck for poor Stinson Bennett? You get number 8 Auburn or number 7 Auburn. You get number 14 Tennessee, and then you get number 2 Alabama on the road. Can this kid get a breath by chance?
I guess not.
I mean, someone needs to save this poor kid. But listen, Brandon, I don't think Jared Garantano did a bad job this weekend.
No.
I thought he played really well, and I just don't think he had enough help to knock off a team of Georgia's caliber, if that makes sense. I think that overall the team's really good, but I just think I don't think the offensive line was ready for what this Georgia defense was going to throw at it.
Right. I agree.
I mean, he had 215 passing, 2 touchdowns and interception. The O-line dominated in the second half, 5 sacks, 3 quarterback hurries. But, Brandon, under pressure, we saw it last week with Bo Nix. We see it this week. When the Bulldogs get pressure, bad things happen. Garantano was 37% completion percentage, 31 yards and a pick. That's exactly what Bo Nix put up last week.
That's
to beat this Bulldogs defense, you're going to have to be calm under pressure. You're going to have to make good decisions under pressure. Because, Brandon, I don't know if you feel the same way. I think this Georgia team is going to get to every quarterback they play, and to beat them, it's just going to take a quarterback to stay calm under pressure. And looking at their schedule, I think there's really only 2, maybe 3 quarterbacks that can do that on their schedule.
Yeah, well, I think they're gonna come up to it this next week.
He was one of them. He was definitely one of them. I think Miles Brennan has the potential. He's my maybe, and then I think Kyle Trask maybe as well. But I think Mac Jones is going to be the one quarterback where you're going to have to get to him really. That's a lot of preview stuff, guys. So that's our bad. But Brandon, Azeez Ojulari is becoming a problem in the SEC.
Yeah.
This kid off the edge is a huge problem. 2 sacks this week, 2 tackles for loss. And Brandon, with him, Monty Rice, Quay Walker, and Channing Tyndale, I think this front 7 can rival anybody, and that's why I have them second in the country. Those 3 guys, along with Ojulari, had 3 sacks, 4 tackles for loss, and a touchdown.
I mean, it's bananas. You got to love to see it, though. And there's finals and defense. Here we are.
There you go. But, Brandon, how about that Tennessee rushing game? Because Garantano can't do it all of itself. Guys, Tennessee averaged 0 yards per rush.
Okay, but that's because Jared Garantano got sacked 10 times. And
he didn't get sacked 10. He got sacked 5 and then rushed 5 times.
Okay, fine. He still had negative 40 yards, Zach.
Okay, that's still not great. Their longest rush of the day was 8 yards by Eric Gray.
Yeah, only had 25 yards rushing. Their actual running backs averaged 2 yards a carry.
There you go. Perfect. 2 yards a carry is going to get you a win on the road in the SEC. But, Brandon, I'm really disappointed in Eric Gray. He was one of my breakout players in the SEC last season. He did not show up this weekend. I mean, you remember his 200-something yard performance late. I think I forget the team they were playing. It was late. I think it was late in the season for Tennessee. I think it was Missouri or something. He played well in the bowl game. We had Bob Kessling on the play-by-play for Tennessee. All positive things about Eric Gray, but 3.1 yards to carry isn't going to cut it, and he's going to have to be a staple on this offense in the coming games to really help Garantano beat some of these elite teams they're going to have to face. Right. And, Brandon, I don't know about you. I think Pruitt's the perfect coach for Tennessee. I think Tennessee is going to compete in the SEC into the coming years. I think they are right there on the cusp of being in that next tier for the SEC.
They are, and I mean, they stay in this game in the second half. They don't just somehow crumble. Or I guess maybe Georgia just came out and played better in the second half.
I think that was it.
And they leave with a win. I mean, like you said, they were winning in the first half. I mean, if they keep up what they were doing in the first half, if Georgia plays the same way they played in the first half, I mean, we're having a whole different conversation right now.
Yeah, and if you look at the recruiting difference, man, I mean, this game shouldn't even be close.
Right.
I don't think Tennessee's had a top 10 recruiting class in years, and Georgia's been top 3 for the last 4.
Right.
I mean, I was actually really proud of Tennessee for how they played. I thought they did the best they could. I mean, especially against the Georgia team, who I think is a serious national championship contender. But guys, Tennessee hosts Kentucky next week, who is looking to get back in the SEC East race after a big win this weekend, while Georgia heads into the matchup of the year in Tuscaloosa against number 2 Alabama. I think Brandon's pumped about that game. I'm pumped about that game. Next weekend is a huge weekend of college football, but let's wrap up Pick 6 recap right here, guys. In the blowout of the weekend, I guess, number 1 Clemson dominates, destroys, decimates the Miami Hurricanes 42-17. And Brandon, I want to start out with a hot take. I know it's probably not a hot take, so I'm sure you agree with me, and everyone should agree with me here. This game this weekend in Clemson, South Carolina, left no doubt in my mind, and it should not have left any bit of doubt in yours. Clemson's the best team in this country by a significant margin right now.
Yeah, they are, and I am more than upset that Miami dropped to number 13 in the polls. They maybe should have gone up after this loss because Clemson is just that good.
They made Miami look like an unranked team.
They did, and they're going to make everyone. They're going to make everyone they play moving forward in this season look like an unranked team. I mean, they are that good.
Okay, so right now Notre Dame's 4th in the new AP poll that came out while we were recording. By the way, North Carolina's 5th. I think they should be 20 to 28 point favorites over both of those on the road if you want to make it on the road.
Right.
I don't think there's a team that can hang with them. And number 2's Alabama. I think they should be a 10 to 14 point favorite over Alabama too, and Georgia. I think they're that good. Brandon, listen, I know you're going to really push back against this. If this Clemson team faced LSU last year, it would be a way closer game. I think they're that much better.
I don't know. No comment.
Brandon's like, I'm not going to, take away our national championship.
That's all I have left, Zach. You want me to give that up?
That's true. I forgot. We're going to have another counseling meeting for you later in the show. But, Brandon, this Clemson defense is elite. It's the best defense in the country. That's why I put Georgia at 2. It made this Hurricanes offense look pedestrian at best. I mean, Brandon, against the number 7 team in the country, they held them to 9 first downs, 4 for 15 on third downs, and forced 3 turnovers for a team that didn't have an interception, or I think they only had 2 turnovers for the entire year.
Yeah, and Derek King had 2 interceptions in this
after not throwing any for a year and a half.
And I'll say it, I had Trevor Lawrence throwing an interception for sure in this game.
He did not.
No comment. No comments at this time.
But they allowed only 210 yards for a team averaging over 500. They forced Miami into uncomfortable positions, and Miami folded. They had 15 penalties for over 130. That undisciplined play that has kept them out of the national spotlight for years showed up again in the biggest spots. And Brandon, I want to cover this. I'm a huge advanced analytics dude. I don't know why. I'm a geek. You can call me whatever. But this secondary is a problem. Breaking down some of the stats for the secondary is ridiculous. Their top three corners, Brandon, are De'Aaron Kendrick, Sheridan Jones, and Andrew Booth Jr., right? All elite talents. They're going to make most quarterbacks uncomfortable. Kendrick and Jones both had interceptions last night. Brandon, listen to these stats for these three cornerbacks. For Kendrick, 4 targets allowed 0 catches.
Right.
Booth, 1 catch for -3 yards on 3 targets. And Jones had 2 targets and allowed 0 catches.
Right.
How about that for your top 3 secondary defenders?
No, it's bad, okay? I mean, it's bad for Miami.
And the guy who took Isaiah Simmons' position, Mike Jones Jr., 3 targets, 0 catches as well, just to add insult to injury in case you were wondering. So they had 4 guys, 3 guys that didn't allow a catch, and 1 guy whose 1 catch went for negative yardage.
Yeah.
This is brutal, guys. The defensive line, outrageous. They were in the backfield all game. I mean, I'll get to Miami in a second, but let's move to the other side of the ball. Travis Etienne. Brandon, I'm running out of words here. Are you kidding me?
Great. Great is what this is the word you're looking for, I believe.
I'm running out of just I feel like we cover some of these top teams so much. I'm just running out of stuff to describe Travis Etienne. If we have new listeners, go back and listen. I don't understand how this kid's so good. The fact that one team can have Travis Etienne and Trevor Lawrence in the backfield is just absolutely unfair.
He had more receptions than anybody else on this offense this weekend. He had 1 fewer yard than the leading receiver. And then, I mean, he has 150 yards on the ground.
He exploded too.
Usually as a running back, you need to choose one. And I mean, you have the few that can do it in the air and on the ground. I mean, we see the Alvin Kamaras of the world, and like you said before, he might be a better Alvin Kamara. I don't know. He might be.
He's growing the hair out too, so he's looking just like Alvin Kamara. He just got to change his number to 41.
There we go. Slow number,
but yeah, I mean. I don't know, Brandon. I'm running out of words. He looks fast. He looks explosive, dynamic. And like you said, the reason I have him as the best running back in the country is, yes, Nachi Harris is really good. He's probably the best pure running back in the country. But Travis Etienne can do more than any running back in the country. He's a better receiver than some of the best wide receivers in the country.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense. And Brandon, like you said, Lawrence's streak lives on. He's now at 355 consecutive downs without throwing an interception. Remember that bet of 400 I sent you? I'm telling you, he probably should have taken it. This kid, he's built different. I don't even know.
Different.
Yeah, another 70% completion percentage game, 292, 34 rushing yards, and 4 more total touchdowns.
Right. And let me say this about Clemson though. They need to maybe stop beating teams by so much because they're gonna ruin DJ Uiagalelei's red shirt. He's not gonna get it. Right?
Stop putting them in. But put in some. Let Travis Etienne run quarterback for a little bit.
They put him in for 3 plays. Why would you do why? Why would you do that?
Well, no, they aren't going to burn the red shirt because they get an extra year of eligibility anyway.
That's right. That's right. Okay, people forget.
Yeah, but listen, Lawrence is on a record-setting pace, Brandon. I mean, I don't even know if the Heisman race is close. I know we have the Heisman segment later. We got some contenders and pretenders, but if I'm being real with you, I don't even know if anyone's anywhere near where this kid is right now.
Right. They're not.
72% completion percentage for the entire year right now, Brandon. 14 total touchdowns, no turnovers.
Yeah. Crazy.
Listen, he's solidifying his place as the greatest of all time. It's happening right before your eyes, and people just aren't realizing it. When he goes
watching him, people just aren't watching the games anymore.
That's because they're not fun to watch because they're beating the living out of people. I mean, it's not even – it's – Brendan, it was what 21-3 before they blocked that field goal and returned it before halftime. Which, by the way, is Dabo that confident? Hang on, someone's got to check Dabo. Someone's just got to catch him around the corner and just jump him because he thought he could kick a 63-yard field goal.
No, that's ridiculous.
Bro, this dude is playing Madden on rookie mode. He's just like there's the win. Maybe I don't know. Like
Justin Tucker missed a 61-yarder today, and then Dabo was like, you know what, 63 yards, we got this.
And the kid's like career long was like 40. Like I don't know where he got it from. I don't know. Alabama can't find someone to make an extra point, and Dabo's confident enough in a 63-yarder.
It's ridiculous.
Oh man! But listen, De'Aaron King, his demons finally surfaced. Brandon, it's the same demons that he had at Houston, and the hype train for the Canes is officially off the tracks. I mean, 43% completion percentage, 121 passing, 84 rushing yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions. Brandon, against the blitz was 42% completion percentage, 8 yards, and 1 interception.
Right.
It's not a good look.
You know what's crazy is that this isn't even like Miami's a bad team. Miami might finish 9-1 in the ACC, and like Clemson's just that good.
Yeah, because I think North Carolina, Miami, Notre Dame. I think those are the three. All three of those teams could finish in the top 15.
Yeah,
and Clemson's going to beat all of them by probably 30+ points.
This is so insane.
And listen, King's going to take the fall here. I get it. He's the quarterback. Everything falls on him. Brandon, what was this rushing attack?
Non-existent.
Chaney Jr., who had 1 carry, Cameron Harris, and Jalen Knighton, who had 1 carry, combined for 11 rushing yards on 11 attempts.
To be fair, they could not get anywhere.
No,
at all.
Well, we've talked about the Hurricanes O-line, but I think our group message that we were talking about last night, I think Miami finally realized that Florida State and Louisville just aren't good.
They're not, yeah.
Louisville got blown out by Georgia Tech this weekend.
Right.
And so Miami's realizing they haven't beat anybody worth a damn, and they walk in here thinking they're good, and this Hurricanes offensive line got just massacred by this front seven. And Brandon, before the season, the reason I went behind Miami is because their lack of wide receiving talent. I think that finally got exposed this weekend.
It did.
Outside of Brevin Jordan, there is not a really good wide receiver on this team. There's really not.
Keyshawn Smith was their leading receiver because he had 1 reception for 42 yards. He doesn't even have a picture on ESPN. Like, huh? What?
Oh, man. Listen, Clemson's defense, Brandon, allowed 10 points because that field goal return really doesn't fall on the defense. They allowed 10 points because of a poor choice by Dabo. And listen, I might have a grudge. I've been trying to say Rhett Lashley's offense is not that good. He brought it to Auburn, had some good moments, but against the elite defensive coordinators, it doesn't work. It's Gus Malzahn's offense with another name.
Right.
And Brent Venables and Dabo Swinney have shown again that they're playing chess over checkers with the rest of the country, man. I texted, my uncle who's in Clemson during the game. I was like, listen, I'm filing a report to get Clemson put in the NFL because I'm tired of y'all beating up kids like this. It should be illegal.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. There's child abuse on ABC at 6:30 right now. This is ridiculous. Like, Trevor Lawrence should be playing in the NFL right now. This is not fair. Travis Etienne is 45 running over children right now. So Brady, remember like the old NCAA games where you put it on rookie mode, and after like 10 straight years of winning the national title, you'd have to restart it because you just got bored. I just want Dabo to like break NCAA rules on purpose, just lose a bunch of scholarships, and just try to do it all over again.
I would like to see that. Like start over, maybe even start with Clemson, but like turn the sliders down and try.
Exactly. There you go. Yeah, like move to the SEC. I don't know. They beat everybody, but let's hang about this. Instead of the NFL, let's move to the CFL.
The CFL.
Okay. I'm real confident that Clemson go undefeated in the CFL right now.
I can see it. Or let's bring back NFL Europe and put them there.
There you go. I'm telling you, Mexico City wants a team, so why not? But Listen, guys, on all actuality, I mean, I think Clemson, Brandon, right now, we're about to get into Alabama's defensive struggles. We talked about Florida's. I don't remember who's fifth. Notre Dame. Not super confident in them. They were down to Florida State this weekend. I think not Florida, Georgia and Clemson are the only two teams I think have good offensive and defensive units in the country right now. Really and truly looking at it, are you confident that any other team has an offensive and defensive unit that can compete with Clemson or Georgia?
No, absolutely not. I mean, those are the two. I mean, honestly, Clemson might just have might have the most complete offense and defense in the country. Might leave Georgia out of this. It might just be Clemson.
Yeah, I think they have the best overall. I don't even know what to say, to be completely honest with you. I am so impressed with how they've played so far. I don't even know. But listen, Miami heads into a big matchup against Pitt next weekend in a highly, highly, I guess, important matchup for the ACC, while Clemson travels to Georgia Tech against the red-hot Yellow Jackets. But, Brandon, I don't know if the Yellow Jackets are going to be too happy about what's going to happen to them next weekend when Clemson comes rolling into town.
Right. I guess we'll see.
But, guys, we're moving on to our next segment. SEC Madness is what we're going to call it. We can't cover every game in our Pick Six segment, but we're going to have to go ahead, break down some of the best, most exciting games this past weekend. The SEC claims to be the deepest conference. Well, some of that depth was put to the test this weekend, where some teams were lucky to escape with a win. I'm going to call them struggle wins, and another was a little bit less lucky and suffered another loss this season. Brandon, let's go ahead, kick this off with the obvious one. Number 2, Alabama, and their escape from Oxford over the Ole Miss Rebels. What did you see here?
Well, I know that you said this is SEC madness. I like to call it Big 12 East madness because there's no defense. There's no defense to be found in the SEC. It's so bad. I mean, I don't know. I was shocked when I saw Ole Miss tie this game late at 42 points against Alabama in Oxford. I mean,
they were rolling. They were scoring on every drive, man. It was just back and forth from the first quarter. I mean, every single quarter was just back and forth. And, it ended up being where Ole Miss couldn't, I guess, continue to do what they were doing. But I'm impressed. And now Nick Saban's claiming that Lane Kiffin stole signals and making a bunch of other excuses. But be with that as you will.
You're right, man. I don't know. It was a bad performance for both defenses, honestly. But I mean, this is kind of the sort of thing we expected out of Ole Miss, at least their defense. I mean, we didn't expect them to hold Alabama under 50 points, did we? I mean, I'm pretty sure that I joked around before because you asked me about the over/under for this game. I want to say the over/under was like 70 or something. I was like, well, Alabama's going to score 60. And, well, here we are.
They did. But Ole Miss also scored 50.
Right. So, man, I don't know. There has to be some kind of like defensive like maybe like a getaway where just a couple of SEC defense coordinators all get together and talk defense for a weekend or something. Maybe like November 6th when half the conference is on bye week. Like we can I don't know, maybe go to like Hoover to like the headquarters and just talk defense for a weekend.
Talk it out. Hey, is everybody okay here? Like, are we good? Brandon, but I think this, like you said, this is more about Alabama's defense than Ole Miss's defense. It's the same thing I said about Florida, Brandon. I mean, this offense may be a top 5 offense in the country. Mac Jones, spectacular. 4 incompletions for 417 yards.
That's great. Nachi Harris had 5 touchdowns this weekend.
Yeah, and over 200 yards rushing.
Right. So the offense is not an issue. Like, come on. If it were just offense, like we wouldn't, I don't know. I mean, if defense wasn't a part of the game, then Alabama, I mean, you're set, you're fine. But it is.
Brandon, just I guess this is your Aflac trivia question of the episode. Aflac sponsor us if you want this to keep going, I guess. But can you name the 2 SEC teams that haven't allowed 30-plus points this year?
Oh, probably not, I guess. I know, obviously, Missouri, LSU have, Ole Miss has, Alabama has. Florida has. They allowed 42 this weekend, didn't they?
It's like, yeah, they took that L.
I thought everyone had. Mississippi State has. This is tough. Auburn
is one.
Auburn and Georgia.
Yep, Auburn and Georgia are the only two SEC teams not to allow 30 points in a game this year.
I mean, that's nuts.
Mind blown. Hey, Auburn's trash, but hey, at least we haven't allowed 30 yet. I guess that's a positive.
Yeah, I mean, it comes with the territory when it's Kentucky and Arkansas and
Georgia.
I guess that's
a positive. I guess that's a we held Georgia under 30. That's our key point. But Brandon, this defense is showing cracks. This is not good. Brandon, they allowed 31 first downs, 4 for 4 on fourth downs, and allowed 647 yards of total offense.
Right.
To Ole Miss.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. Elijah Moore on fire, Kenny Yeboah on fire, and Pete Golding may be on the hottest seat in the country right now, and I am shocked Saban let him on the plane.
Yeah, I am too. And I mean, I don't know. I was on Alabama Twitter last night. And I saw the tweets calling for his job. I don't know. Maybe do it. I don't know. I'm not sure.
I hope no one knows where he lives because Alabama fans are crazy. They're going to keep him up all night. Pete Golding, save yourself. Go. Get out of town. I'm sure LSU will trade Bo Pelini for you.
Yeah, I would support that.
But listen, Nick Saban's going to have to find a solution because there's going to be some offenses coming in town. And, man, Georgia, if you can't stop Ole Miss, how in the world do you expect to stop Georgia?
You won't be able to at all.
No.
I mean, it's good. I'm telling you, the over-under for that game needs to be 150. You said it earlier. I'm fully in. I'm committed.
I mean, and listen, Nachi Harris is on fire, really good, elite. I honestly can't say enough about him. I mean, 23 carries, over 200 yards, 5 rushing touchdowns. Ole Miss has zero answers for this guy. Brandon, I don't think there's not a running back with his size, speed, and patience in the country. I mean, it makes him a hard matchup to really stop ever. I mean, 63 points in an SEC game is outrageous.
Yeah.
And there was a point in the fourth quarter, Brandon, watching this back and forth where I was like, have they even faced the third down yet? Has a team dropped a pass? Has there been a fumble? Like, has anybody made any hiccup on the offensive side of the ball?
No.
I've not seen an Alabama defense play this bad in a long time. I mean, this was rough. And listen, I know Alabama right now, Brandon, I still think they're probably the best team in the SEC. Them and Georgia are right there. I guess we'll find out next week who's the best team in the SEC. But if you're going to win a national championship, this defense is going to have to be fixed.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't allow 13 yards per pass against Ole Miss.
Matt Corral simply cannot pass for 365 yards on your defense. And
I don't even know. They didn't even do this to the Florida defense.
Right. I don't know.
I'm mind blown. But guys, like I said, Alabama, they are headed into a huge matchup against Georgia next week in Tuscaloosa, while Ole Miss heads to Arkansas to face the red-hot Razorbacks that should be 2-1 right now. And speaking of that, Brandon, let's move to Auburn, Alabama, where I think the number 13 Auburn Tigers, stole this one with a 30-28 win.
What an upset. Win.
But, guys, Felipe Franks, the man, 22 for 30, Brandon, 318 and 4 touchdowns.
Right.
That the dude came to play.
Can we talk about it? Can we talk about it?
Talk about what?
About the Bo Nix fumble.
Go ahead. Update everyone who might not have caught the game, Brandon.
So if you didn't watch this game, on Auburn's final drive, whenever they were like, you know what, we should probably win a football game against Arkansas, they were trying to clock the ball, and so Bo Nix muffs a snap. I mean, they're down by a point at this time. By the way, what is it? There's like 30 seconds left in the game, Zach. When this disaster happens, he muffs a snap. drops it on the ground, then is like, oh, I really probably should spike this ball. Makes a total 180 and then throws the ball behind him, and it's somehow just not a fumble. How's that not a fumble?
Okay, so the SEC came out with a statement.
I bet they did.
It was like out after the game. So just to update you guys, I did a lot of research on this as an Auburn fan. So once you muff a snap, you cannot spike the ball because it would be intentional grounding after you muff it.
It was intentional grounding. Is what they called it.
They called intentional grounding. Well, after Nix threw the ball behind them, they said it was a fumble. They claimed it was a fumble. They got that right.
Good.
But since the ref blew the whistle after Nix clocked the ball, the play is dead at that point. And so afterwards, an Arkansas defender jumps on the ball. It squirts out. An Auburn player jumps on it. It squirts out of his arms. And then after the ref's trying to grab the ball, an Arkansas player picks it up and hands it to the ref. Well, they said that was not a clear, immediate recovery, which it wasn't. It's not clear and immediate. And so the rule says that if the whistle blows, there has to be an immediate, clear recovery, which there wasn't, which is why Arkansas didn't get the ball. After it squirted between two people's hands and the play was blown dead. So everyone
quit saying squirted. Quit saying squirted. That's disgusting. Not on my podcast.
Your podcast? But no, I mean, it was a bad call. So the ref blowing the whistle is what cost Arkansas the game. That's what it comes down to. So whatever ref blew the whistle, you're fired. The Bluebloods have fired you.
Suspend them.
There you go. But man, this game was brutal. As an Auburn fan, I don't even know what to say. I mean, I watched most of the game. I guess I was back and forth between this game and some others, but I'm upset with how they played. Bo Nix only throwing for 187. Not great. If there's a bright spot for Auburn, Brandon, it's Tank Bigsby, the true freshman running back. I mean, he had 146 yards rushing. He was the second or third leading receiver on the team. I mean, Tank Bigsby was the only player who deserves a scholarship from this Auburn team.
I mean, he looked really good. Bo Nix, he's not technically Bo Picks this week, but he's Bo Miss is what he is.
Yeah, because he didn't have a passing touchdown. He had a running touchdown early in the second quarter, but that was really it. And listen, Auburn was in complete control of this game early, 17-0. Arkansas makes it close at the end of the second quarter, but Auburn's up by 2 scores with I think it's 11 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, he had a passing touchdown.
Did he?
Yeah, in the fourth quarter.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he threw it to Schwartz. I totally blanked on that. Yeah,
and you're an Auburn fan.
Listen, I am so done with this season. I am over Auburn football right now. Gus Malzahn needs to go. The players need to go. I'm telling you, Bo Nix is not going to be the starting quarterback next year. And if he is, I'm going to be upset.
Okay.
I'm going to put my application out for bandwagon fan. I'm going to be a Clemson fan. I don't know. Is there any room in LSU?
Well, I don't know if you'd be a bandwagon fan at this point.
Oh, man. But listen, guys, Auburn, I don't know. Auburn's trash. They dropped in the rankings even after a win. That should tell you what the voters thought about that.
Wasn't a win.
They're on the road next week at South Carolina. Probably going to lose that game. And, Arkansas, they're going to face Ole Miss in what should be a really good game, actually, because both of those teams are playing really well. But we're going to move on. Last matchup we're going to cover here, and it's one that's close to Brandon's heart here. The LSU Tigers lose to the Missouri Tigers on the road, 45-41. Brandon, how did this happen? What happened? Let our listeners know since this game was on SEC alternate.
No, I'm good.
You're just not going to talk about it?
No, I mean, what's there to talk about?
LSU was up 24-14 in the second quarter. That's good.
Yeah, and I was feeling confident in that point in time, and I don't know why. Because the second I started feeling confident is when bad things start happening, and so that's exactly what happened. And look, honestly, this game shouldn't have been that close. The only reason it was is because Missouri had 3 turnovers. One of them was on downs. I get it, whatever. But I mean, they had a muffed punt that was picked up within the 20, and what was it? I think it was like a fumble recovery for LSU. And so I don't know. I mean, they should have won by more, in all honesty. I mean, if they didn't have those turnovers, this game's ugly. I mean, it's ugly probably fairly early. So, I don't know. I think I've decided at this point that I'm kind of rooting for LSU to lose every game this season, like every other game, because it's kind of fun to be a fan of a losing team, like a really bad losing team. Like if you're a fan of Vanderbilt, I bet you're having the best time ever because you just don't care anymore. But like, you can't be a fan of a team that's like kind of bad because then that's not fun. I'm going to be a fan regardless, whatever, who cares? But man, this LSU defense has to figure it out. They really, really do, because you can't put a second of blame. I was going to say you can't put a second of blame on this offense, but you kind of can when they go 0 for 10 on third down.
I was about to ask you that they rushed for 2.5 yards per rush and went 0 for 10 on third down.
Man, the running game could not get it done whatsoever. Miles Brennan played out of his mind, but that's against a Missouri defense. So,
I mean,
that with what
Brady,
you
hear me out. I've already said let's put one wide receiver for Florida at running back. What if we just put Eric Gilbert at running back?
Dude, that would be kind of cool. He disappeared too, though, Zach. I mean,
down the stretch.
I mean, between the first and fourth quarters, he was nowhere to be found. He was hurt. It's not like he was just on the field. I mean, he was legitimately not playing. He hurt his shoulder, I believe. And so he comes back into the game after the first quarter with 9 minutes left in the game. And I mean, he's the target. I mean, he's obviously a huge target, but not as huge as Terrace Marshall Jr., who is just, I mean, I don't want to say one of the best wide receivers in the country, but he probably is.
No, I think you can say that. I mean, 11 catches, 235, 3 touchdowns, and he's been putting up stats in every single game. I mean, he has over 400 yards receiving, already 7 touchdowns?
Yeah, I mean, the kid's a monster.
And he's averaging over 20 yards per catch for the season.
Right.
That's pretty good, B-Dub. I don't feel like it's as bad as you're thinking.
There's nothing good, Zach. Nothing's good right now, okay?
All right, so we have to talk before we wrap this up about the goal line stand to end this game.
Oh, my gosh.
I have to ask, as someone who was watching the goal line stand and is, I guess, a neutral fan, because I actually really wanted LSU to win because I really didn't want Missouri to win this game. But what was the play calling?
Non-existent. Most importantly, what was that third down play call? What was that? That little drop-off pass to Marshall?
Yeah, at least they tried to get it to Marshall because that was the playmaker you had to get it to.
And they tried that on third and fourth down, but
yeah.
Man.
But, I mean, he just threw it too low. The defensive end was right there. Like, if you're going to throw it right over the defensive end like that and like a little swing pass, you have to chop him, right?
Yeah. Or cut him. Yeah. You don't want to chop that guy.
Well, not chop him, but cut him. You want to get his hands down at least.
Yeah. No,
the offensive tackle didn't even touch him.
Yeah. And it was, well, that's not Austin Deculus. Austin Deculus is on the right tackle. But I don't know, man. I have no excuses for that then.
Yeah.
I was going to say Austin Deculus was hurt earlier in the game, but no.
The bad part is that I don't think I don't mind third or fourth down because you're trying to get to your playmakers, but you can't run the ball all game. You try to run right up the middle, you get stuffed. You go into hurry up and run the exact same play.
I mean, that was awful. I don't know what that and the thing that makes me really mad about that is that their leading rusher this game was Tyrion Davis-Price with 38 yards total, and then you decide, you know what, he's going to push it in, or I can't remember if it was him on the goal line. I think it was. Anyway, I mean, I don't know why you do that. I mean, I don't understand why you try to push it in from. I get it, the half-yard line. Yeah, you should be able to do that with a big back, and he is a big back. He's 230 pounds. He should be able to push that in, but you see it not work one time, and then you see the defense line right back up with 10 men in the box again, and then you just try the same exact play for a loss of 2 yards. I mean, that's terrible.
It's a bad play call, but I mean, I'm sure Brandon's ready to get rid of Bo Pelini right now. I don't know how he makes it for another season, Brandon. I really don't.
I honestly don't know how he made it past this weekend. I really, really don't. Especially, I mean,
You think he should be fired after 4 games?
He's been fired before, so I mean, maybe. I don't know why he came back.
That's tough. 4 games. That's
Zach,
brutal.
have you seen this defense over the 4 games?
Oh no, I definitely have seen it. I got you. I got what you mean.
Okay, I give him half a season. If I'm an LSU booster, and if I'm people are legitimately trying to get this man fired. Like they were trying to get him fired week 1 against Mississippi State, and I was like, oh, pump the brakes. Well, dude, you lose against Mississippi State and then Missouri, and your offense is putting up over 40 points a game. I mean, if you score 41 points in a game, you have to win that game. And if you don't, it's on your defense.
I think it's lower than that. I mean, I think if you allow, I forgot what like the rule of thumb is, but like some say it's like 30, some say it's 20. Like your defense shouldn't be able to allow over 30 points.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and against Missouri, dude. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know. Like you can't be making KJ Costello look like a Heisman Trophy winner, and then he gets benched this weekend against Kentucky. You can't make Connor Bazelak look like a Heisman contender with 406 yards and 4 touchdowns.
And he only had like 7 incompletions or something like that.
He had 5 incompletions, Zach.
That's tough. That's real tough.
That's so bad.
And so, just looking at LSU's schedule, they travel to Florida next week to face Kyle Pitts and Kyle Trask, who are pretty good. South Carolina just put up a bunch of yards in their game against Florida. You have Auburn, who you have to travel to face in Jordan Hare. That's going to be a battle of horrible teams. Then you got Alabama coming to Tiger Stadium with those set of wide receivers, and then you still have to go to Kyle Field and face Texas A&M, and you got that Ole Miss offense.
Yeah.
This is LSU's going to turn around. But listen, if there's any coach in the country that I think can rally his team up for some big games, it's Coach O.
Yeah,
I think so. If there's a coach in the country that can save this, I think it's him, Brandon. I really do. I think he has full control of this team.
I'm not saying that a win against Vanderbilt was like, hey, we fixed anything, because it's Vanderbilt and we've seen Vanderbilt play every week this season. But you can't tell me that this team didn't look miles better than they did against Mississippi State against Vanderbilt. I'm hoping this kind of loss, this embarrassing loss against Missouri, kind of kicks something into them. I'm not saying they're going to beat Florida. I guess I don't know if we're going to preview this game or not. Probably not. I don't know if that's going to be a good enough game to preview, but I'm sure we'll talk about it at some point. And I hate to give anything away, but man, I just in a perfect world, I guess I could see if LSU played a perfect game, I see them beating Florida. But in any other circumstance, man, it's going to be tough.
We're definitely covering that game. That's going to be one of the best games of the weekend. We're going to cover that, guys. We're bringing you all the content, but that's a wrap on this SEC Madness segment. We've kept y'all around here forever. We got one last segment. It's the Heisman Watch segment, revamped for y'all. We're just going to break down the top 5 or so players that ESPN and other, I guess, publications have tabbed as the top Heisman candidates right now. We're going to tell you guys if they're contenders or pretenders and why. So, Brandon, let's start out with one that we saw late last night. Mac Jones for Alabama, quarterback. He's been having probably one of the best seasons for an Alabama quarterback in a while. 79% completion percentage, 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns, only 1 interception. His quarterback rating is over 220 right now. So do you think he is a contender or pretender for the Heisman Trophy?
Man, he's absolutely a contender. I don't see how you could argue against that. I'm not saying that he is better than Tua when Tua is at full strength, but he's better than Tua was last season. I don't think that's arguable. So far this season, he has looked incredible. What did you say? He had 3 incomplete passes or 4 incomplete passes yesterday night or 2 nights ago. If you're listening on Monday.
Yep. So, he only had 2, and for the season, Brandon, he's 66 for 83.
Like that seems like it shouldn't be allowed.
And he's second in the NCAA, which is outrageous that he's second.
And I don't want to crown him just yet, just because, this Alabama team, maybe their toughest opponent so far has been Ole Miss. So I don't want to crown him just yet, but let's wait one more week until they play Georgia. I want to see how he plays against that defense. But I think he's a legit contender for now.
I do too. I think he's a contender. I mean, anytime that you have almost 80% completion percentage, over 1,000 yards in just a handful of games, and you're averaging over 13 yards per completion, that's stout, man. You're not turning the ball over. Yes, he has a lot of help with his wide receivers, but can you name a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback that didn't have any help?
No.
You have to rely on your. Yeah, that's true. But that's a good one. I would for some reason overlooked that one. But yeah, guys, I think Mac Jones is absolutely a contender. And if he beats Georgia this weekend and has a big game, I think you can mark him down as almost a guarantee to get to New York unless something outrageous happens and he has like a big game. You always have to have that Heisman winning moment. And if you beat the number 3 team in the country and it's due to your performance, I think that's plenty that you need. But Brandon, another SEC guy who has a lot of, I guess, support here is your tight end, Kyle Pitts for the Florida Gators. I know that he's probably not going to win the Heisman, Brandon, but could he get an invite? He has 17 catches, 274, 7 touchdowns. He's averaging 16 yards per catch. Is there any way Kyle Pitts is a contender for the Heisman Trophy here?
I wish you would have asked me a different day because the day after they drop a game to Texas A&M and he had, 5 catches? I mean, he didn't have like a great game. He disappeared, like we said. I think he's a really good player. Don't get me wrong. Do I think that he's going to be invited to New York, and do I think that he's going to be a legitimate contender for the Heisman Trophy? No. In that aspect, I guess he's a pretender. But don't get me wrong by any means. He's the best tight end in college football right now, I think. But no, he's a Heisman pretender.
Yeah, I think so too. Plus, now his health's a little bit in doubt. Brandon, I don't know if you knew this, but the reason he wasn't really a factor in the game is because he apparently has a left foot injury right now.
Not great.
And that his availability for LSU is in question this weekend.
Oh, my gosh, please. I don't want any player to ever be hurt. Good Lord.
Well, I have him as a pretender too. I just think his position, you have to play almost perfect games week in and week out to win it as a non-quarterback. And I think this weekend's already knocked him out of it, Brandon. As sad as that might be, as tough as that may be, to win it as a wide receiver / tight end, you have to play flawless. Oh, yeah. And I think he's a pretender all the way. And let's talk about let's move to the ACC here, Brandon. We have De'Aaron King from Miami. I know he had a bad performance, but he's still completing 61% of his passes, 854 yards, 6 passing touchdowns, 2 interceptions, plus 240 rushing and 2 rushing touchdowns. Is he a contender or pretender for the Heisman Trophy?
Oh, that's so tough. You're really making this one difficult. I'm going to go with pretender for De'Aaron King as well. I don't know. He's definitely very fun to watch. But we've seen a lot of very fun to watch players not win the Heisman Trophy because their team maybe isn't at the same levels as other teams, or maybe they aren't putting up the same numbers as other players are in the air. I mean, in recent years, what have we seen? We've seen like the passing leaders go win the Heisman Trophy. So if he can really step it up and maybe have more passing yards, then sure. But through 4 games, I mean, 800 yards, that's 200 yards a game. It seems fairly average to me. So I'm going to go with pretender.
I'm also going with pretender. I think this weekend showed exactly what he is. And I don't think Miami's going to have the games to prove that he's a contender. I mean, looking at the schedule, UNC is going to be big, Notre Dame, all that, but I don't think he's going to have that moment. And I think this weekend was his moment to really make him a contender, and I think he shrunk in the biggest moment.
Right.
There's no way you have the game he had with 40% completion percentage and all that, and you compete for the Heisman Trophy. And I think it's over for right now for De'Aaron King. I could be proven wrong later in the season, but I think he's a pretender. And finally, we have 2 last quarterbacks. One, I'm really interested to see what Brandon thinks. We have Kyle Trask, the other part of Kyle to Kyle in this, relationship down in Gainesville. 71% completion percentage, 996 yards, 14 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Brandon, is Trask a contender or a pretender?
He's a contender. He's a legitimate contender. And I don't want to hear the people who might be listening to this podcast going, oh, he has 900 yards. You just said Derek King isn't a real contender because he only has 800 yards. Kyle Trask has played one fewer game than Miami has. Miami's played 4 games. Florida's played 3. Kyle Trask, I mean, watch any of his games. He looks incredible. I mean, he looked incredible this weekend, and they lost the game. And I don't think that's the offense's fault again. But no, he's a legitimate contender. And man, and I don't want to say he has less talent than Alabama, but he does. He has Kyle Pitts, and he has a few other pieces, but he doesn't have the same receivers, the same threats that Alabama has.
Offensive line, running game.
Right.
Give Nachi Harris to Kyle Trask, and we'll talk. But I mean, Brandon, he's second in the NCAA in passing touchdowns right now with less games than almost anybody.
Right.
I think he's an absolute contender. He's going to have that Georgia game to have his Heisman moment. He could have an SEC championship game against Alabama. He has his game this weekend against LSU. He has the moments to get back in this race. One loss isn't going to kill him. He played well in that loss. The loss wasn't on him. It was on that defense. I think Kyle Trask absolutely right now is a contender, and I think he is a real threat for this Heisman Trophy. But Brandon, we have the obvious one. We had to cover him though because it's just a formality. We have Trevor Lawrence, 72% completion percentage, over 1,100 yards, 10 touchdowns, no interceptions, plus those 4 rushing touchdowns. If you listen, is he a contender or a contender? Because there's no pretender with Trevor Lawrence.
He's a contender. This was the stupidest one out of all. I understand it's a formality, but.
Yeah, we had to listen, and I don't even have for my verdict in my notes. I just have winner. I think he's a guarantee winner already, unless something drastic happens. I said before the season he was my Heisman pick. I thought they were going to give it to him just based off career achievement formality. And I think he's showing that he's the best quarterback in the country right now, and I think he's going to put up stats that are going to pretty much make this a non-segment after a few weeks. We're going to get to week 10 or 11 and be like, why do we even have this segment? Trevor Lawrence is going to win the Heisman.
Right. No, I agree.
It's ridiculous. But guys, that's a wrap on this episode, man. We appreciate y'all tuning in, man. And an hour and a half of content for you guys, man. It's been a wild week 6. So we had to get all that info in for you guys. So rate, subscribe to the podcast. You can find us anywhere. You just find your preferred podcast platform. Check us out there. You can find us on YouTube, the Bluebloods CFB podcast. Y'all have been killing YouTube for us. We shout out to you guys for that. Subscribe to the YouTube, and you catch all our episodes on there. We got live streams coming up. We're in the work for some guests, so I'll get back to y'all on that. Our website, thebluebloodspod.com. Check that out as well. Man, we are back. Thursday with a week 7 preview. Man, this season's flying by, B-Dub. But we got a loaded week of college football coming up for you guys. Biggest game of the weekend, Bama, Georgia. That's on the slate. Florida, LSU, one of the biggest rivalries. That's on the slate. So make sure to tune in next week as well. Tell your coworkers, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your girlfriend, whatever. Let's just make sure they listen to the Blue Bloods. We got all your college football content twice a week. But for right now, we are out.